There is nothing more devastating than when the defense has figured out your offense. You're driving to the stadium knowing they know what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, they know all your tendencies, so no matter how good your offensive skill is, it simply does not matter. This is what happened year 2 of Jayden Daniels after winning Offensive Rookie of the Year and taking his team to the NFC Championship. Him and Kliff Kingsbury's offense fell off a cliff. They got figured out. I believe one of the main reasons was their over-reliance on their no-huddle offense, where according to sharpfootball.com, the Commanders used no-huddle hurry-up offense 60% of the time, and the team that used it second most, the Saints, at just 22%. The no-huddle was a major reason why the Commanders' offense saw so much success in 2024, caught the league off guard, yet their over-reliance on it became their ultimate downfall in 25. Before we dive deeper into why this made the Commanders' offense stop being so effective, I want to thank this week's sponsor, my friends at SeatGeek. Thanks to them, last night I saw Dave Chappelle. He killed it. He was absolutely hilarious, unbelievable. Game blouses. And thanks to SeatGeek, I know I got the best bang for my buck. Being in Chicago for summers, there's Cub games all over the place, undefeated going live to Wrigley, then hitting the bars after, and for tickets, I always use SeatGeek. I like them because I can trust them. They're the #1 ticketing app, 35 million downloads, more than 70,000 events listed on the app. And now with all these insane matchups coming up for the NFL, I will have SeatGeek working overtime. They always have a buyer guarantee on every ticket. And, of course, I always have a code for you guys. You can use my code Rollins10 to get 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off your next set of tickets with code Rollins10. Make sure to click the link in the description box so you can download the app and have the code automatically added to your account. Thanks, SeatGeek. The no-huddle offense is a strategy, a philosophy that can be effective if executed properly. When you don't huddle, the opposing defense cannot substitute. Their defense becomes overly simplified because they can't huddle themselves, so they can't create complex blitz looks or coverage disguises because the offense is going so fast it's harder to start out of position. And when the offense is going fast, the defenders get tired easier. However, there's a reason NFL teams don't use this philosophy consistently. Eventually, defenses do catch up. Yes, you're forcing them into easier to read coverages. The Commanders saw a ton of basic cover 3 zone, ton of cover 1 man, arguably the 2 most basic defensive calls in all of football. But since we aren't huddling, while the defensive game plan becomes limited, so does ours. The no-huddle limits our offense to just one-word play calls, so there are only so many we can install. So while the speed of our offense is going to put you in some base simple to read coverages, it's also going to simplify our offensive scheme and not have as many answers. In Jayden's second year in this Kliff Kingsbury college spread shotgun no-huddle offense, defenses began to understand what was coming. We have fewer concepts since we're going so fast. Well, we need a wide variety of calls pretty frequently, or defenses are gonna catch up, and they did. Check this example where the Commanders are running this fake screen that's super common across the league. The idea is to trick the Packers into thinking this is a screen, and that Noah Brown and Terry McLaurin are blocking the apex and cornerback so that they'll crash down to defend the screen, leaving one or both receivers wide open. However, even during the pre-snap motion, watch Evan Williams. He knows that since this is basically a peel post-wheel concept, typically what happens is the cornerback panics when it's a fake, so he attaches to the post route screaming across his face, which opens up Noah Brown. So Williams is signaling to Carrington Valentine to set outside for the wheel, because Williams has the post. He knew what was coming. Another huge benefit of the 2024 no-huddle offense was Jayden's success rushing the ball. He went for 891 yards, 6 touchdowns, led the league in rushing success rate. He averaged 6 yards a pop. Well, in 2025, all those numbers dropped off drastically. He averaged just 4.8 yards per run. A big reason for this substantial drop-off is how much better defenses got at defending the QB-designed run game out of the no-huddle offense. You'll often hear on TV the football man talking about evening out the numbers when the QB runs the ball. Well, this is what they mean. Here the Commanders have 6 blockers and the Giants have just 6 in the box. So if everybody blocks everybody, ELE, there's nobody to tackle Austin Ekeler. What's even more challenging for New York though is that since Jayden is a viable runner, they can leave Brian Burns unblocked to read him, which means we have 6 blockers for just 5 defenders, a huge advantage. But there's a technique to defend every concept. You just have to know what to practice during the week. That is the key. So watch Burns use the surf technique where he forces the give read. Jayden really can't keep the ball since Burns is sitting there waiting, but Burns has his arm out to close off the gap, is sitting his body outside so Jayden has to give the ball, then makes the tackle. You can see defenses all across the league using this same surf technique. It's not like it's some new revolutionary thing, but when you're repping it every single week before the game, when the Commanders are going a million miles an hour in no huddle, you remember your preparation and what you've been practicing doing all week. Another major defensive shift the Commanders saw was defenses utilizing more spot drop zone coverage. In the last few years, the NFL, in addition to shifting to more too-high safety coverages, has also pivoted towards match coverages, which in a nutshell create tighter coverage to the receiver. Match coverage is a combo of man and zone, where you're starting in zone, but as the concept plays out, you're relating to the receivers more like it's man. It's a more complicated type of coverage because there are a lot of rules and moving parts, which can get you into trouble against no huddle. So to simplify things against the Commanders, defenses shifted to spot drop coverages, which, as they're called, your defenders drop to a spot. This creates looser coverage because your defense is sitting down at their landmark instead of more following receivers, but it gives you the advantage of always keeping your eyes on the quarterback. This is particularly helpful against scrambling quarterbacks like Jayden. It's one of the main reasons his yards per scramble dropped from 8.01 to 6.47, according to StatRankings.com. But it was also surprising how well spot drop worked against the Commanders' passing offense, since usually it's easier to manipulate since there's more open space. Because this offense had a limited number of offensive play calls, they developed tendencies which help defenses better understand which windows to drop their defenders into, while still having the luxury of keeping their eyes on the quarterback. Match coverage gets you a tighter form of zone coverage, but if you've already installed a game plan that has a pretty good idea of what the Commanders are going to do with their limited no-huddle scheme, spot drop is the best of both worlds. As I said, defenses are forced to play very standard vanilla coverages against this offense, which does help Jayden walk to the line of scrimmage and be able to read pre-snap. Because the Commanders want to go so fast, they use very little motion, which gives the quarterback additional information pre-snap. The Commanders use it just 49.3%, which was 25th most in the league, and losing out on this added pre-snap info at times hurt Jayden. If there was any kind of disguise the defense did implement, or if he needed a better man-zone tell, modern offenses use motion to help determine the defense's intentions before the snap, but the Commanders didn't really utilize it enough. Beyond just the no-huddle aspects, there were certainly some schematic issues a la Kliff Kingsbury. Check out this pretty classic play-action cross concept, where the nature of the route is your receiver running away from a defender across the field. But when it's tight end Zach Ertz, he just doesn't have the speed to get open. Also, check out Jaylen Noel's route. This makes sense against off coverage, it should work going underneath the off corner, but he's breaking while Jayden's still dropping back. When you're designing a concept, the QB should hit the top of his drop right when the receiver is about to break. But since Jayden is still dropping, it's impossible for him to hit Noel even if he was open, and Ertz is too slow to create any kind of separation. A huge part of the offense's 2024 success was Terry McLaurin having a career year. Olamide Zaccheaus chipped in 500 yards too, but in the offseason, the Commanders got rid of him and swapped in Deebo Samuel. When Terry went down with an injury, and Deebo being washed, no Terry means no number one receiver, and if you look at what Deebo's really been in this league, study his film and his efficiency metrics, he was never a man coverage beater, he's more of a bubble screen get him in open space guy. Well, when he becomes your number one receiver, this offense couldn't beat any kind of coverage, so things got even worse. Looking back on some of their 24 success, the Commanders were a lot more vertical than they became in 25. Especially when looking at this magical playoff run, we saw these big, deep shots outside, not just to Terry, but to Zacchaeus. De'Ami Brown was in there too, but then Debo came in and changed a bit of the identity of this offense, and we didn't see as many of these big kind of throws, arguably Jayden's best attribute. What I believe happened with this whole no huddle situation is back in 2024, the Commanders drafted this young stud rookie quarterback and said, hey, let's slowly develop him. Let's pair him with Kliff Kingsbury, who will run this college-heavy scheme. Tons of shotgun, tons of screens, tons of RPOs, and of course, tons of no huddle. But instead, Jayden absolutely wrecked the NFL in this scheme, won Rookie of the Year. So when the Commanders thought they were just going to slowly develop him by getting his toes wet with Kingsbury, then he smashed, they ran it back, and Kingsbury's scheme fell off like it always does. In the NFL, every play is crucial, scrutinized, agonized over in the film room in the week of preparation. But the Commanders' no-huddle offense was more about quantity of plays rather than quality. Now, with David Blau coming on as offensive coordinator, ready to run a more pro-style NFL modern offense, more motion, the whole thing, I really think Jayden is prepped to pop once again. As long as he stays healthy with his crazy running style of play, he is insanely talented. Now it's time to show it all over again.